certain people like different things, and that's okay. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's me, the midsole maniac, the Shuru, Running Man Sam, and today we're going to be looking at the Nike ZoomX Invincible and scoring it today for the full review. Now, going forward, I'll be doing the full review at 40 miles. For me, and for what I'm scoring it on and the way that I'm scoring it, I think 40 miles is more than enough information that I need to govern how I can score it. So I have actually done 50 miles in this shoe. So I have come up with my new scoring strategy, which I will now use for every single full review so that they're all the same, so they're all consistent. This is the first full shoe review I'm going to be doing with the new Running Man Sam scoring system. So be prepared for a fun, enjoyable review. Love data, I love statistics. As I've said to you guys before, I'm a bit of a data freak when it comes to things like top trumps. I used to like memorize which card can beat which card in certain categories. Yeah, a bit of a loser, I know. So statistics are things that I really like, and hopefully you'll trust that it's something that I take quite importantly when I'm scoring them. So as always, we're going to start off with some of the stats. This shoe weighs in my size 11 at 350 grams, which is 12.3 ounces. So the first score in there for the weight is a 2 out of 5. I just think that's quite a heavy shoe, especially in my size. That's one of my heaviest shoes that I have. It's 253 grams in a women's size 8 is the price. In the UK, these come in at $159.95 or £160, which I believe in US dollars is roughly around 230. I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 again. It's good for what it's just designed for. I think the uses are quite limited, and that's quite a high price for the limited usage that you can make of it, if that makes sense. I hope you're enjoying this shoe review so far. Please guys, if you are enjoying this and you can see that I'm so enthusiastic about shoes, please consider subscribing, please like, trying to grow this channel, and I can't do that without you helping me with the stack height and the heel to toe drop. So we have a 36mm stack height in the back here, and we have a 27.6mm of stack in the front, which gives us a 9mm heel to toe drop. But this is where it gets fun and interesting and top trump like, hopefully, where we're going to score the shoe on the upper, the midsole and the outsole, but we're going to go into different variations of each area. And then that way, if you're looking for a certain thing in a shoe, you know what to look against with this scoring system. So we're going to start off with the upper, and as I said, I'm not going to score it just on the upper. I'm going to break it down into certain categories. Now these are all things that I've decided for me are very important as a consumer when I'm buying a shoe, and hopefully they're things that you can relate to as well. We're going to start off with plushness, how it feels to the touch, how it feels against your foot, whether it's coarse, whether it feels nice. So in terms of plushness, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. Even though it's supposedly Flyknit material, it doesn't feel like the Flyknit in like the Flyknit 4%, the Nike 4%. It just feels a bit coarse, and you can sometimes feel that against your toes. It does rub a bit. I've never experienced any blisters with it, but it just doesn't feel super plush. And in terms of breathability, another important factor, it's not a super breathable upper. There's not a lot of perforations in the top, and when you're running it on a hot day, as I said, over the 50 miles that I've done in it, I have experienced my foot getting quite hot in this shoe. Not the hottest of any shoe that I've run in by any means, but not super breathable at the same time. So I'm going to go with a 2.5 out of 5 on breathability on the upper. So we're going to move on to the fit. So the fit for me is just how this fits on your foot in terms of whether it's true to size or not. And that kind of thing, and I think it does run true to size, and it is quite a nice generous amount of room in the toe box and in the length of the shoe, and it fits nicely against the heel. So I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 in terms of fit. Lockdown, which is something for me that is really, really important. If a shoe doesn't give me a great lockdown, I really struggle, especially with my plantar fasciitis history that I've got in my right foot. Lockdown is crucial for me, and I think it is for most people. So when I'm talking about lockdown, I'm talking about complete overall lockdown. So lockdown from the heel area to how the tongue sits on the top of your foot, to just the overall lacing on the top of the upper. I'm going to give this quite a high score because I do find that the lockdown is quite good from this shoe. It does hold my foot in place nicely along the top with the laces, and I do get a nice good support in the heel area. So again, we're going to go for a 4 out of 5 for lockdown. Again, these are my opinions, these are how I find the shoe, but I can only score it as my opinion. I can't score it as your opinion or somebody else's opinion because it's my opinion. But hopefully you'll believe that I put as much thought and consideration into these scores as possible. But obviously that can change because certain people like different things, and that's okay. I'm gonna go on to the tongue, which again, I'm gonna give a 4 out of 5. And that's because it's a fully gusseted tongue with quite a lot of padding. So the tongue doesn't move about too much because, as I said, as it's gusseted, so it's joined on the upper into the, where the sort of inner sole starts. And it does have quite a nice good level of padding, but not too thick that it's too hot. A pretty solid tongue actually. And just in terms of durability, so how durable the upper has been over the course of the 50 miles and going forward, again a high score because I'm seeing absolutely no wear at all on the upper, anywhere on the tongue, the laces, no tears, no anything. So I can give that a 4 out of 5. Okay, my favourite part of the shoe, the midsole. This is the heart and soul of the shoe, where the life of the shoe is and where all the fun comes from. Again, we're going to break this down into a few different things. Responsiveness, how responsive this midsole is, how it sort of returns that energy that you put into the shoe. Again, this is my opinion and it's based on someone of my height and build. So it may be completely different for somebody that weighs completely different to me, but I can only score it from my perspective because I am me. So for me, the responsiveness of this shoe is not very high. I do sometimes find when I'm trying to put the pace into it, it just doesn't really want to return that energy that I'm putting into it. It feels like I sort of sink into it quite a bit. The ZoomX, yes, it's great in this sort of shoe here with the plate, which makes it obviously a little firmer. But in here, I just find it a little bit too sloppy, a little bit too sinky. That's not a word, but it is now. It's a 2.5 out of 5. It's definitely not the shoe I would wear for wanting to go fast. So moving on to cushioning, the cushioning of the midsole. So this is obviously different from responsiveness. It doesn't need to be fast. It just means how it absorbs that impact, how it protects your foot, all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to score this a little bit higher. I'm going to score this a 3.5 out of 5 for cushioning, and that's because on the road it's pretty good. It's pretty good for absorbing the impact. I do find towards a longer run, but again, because I'm sinking in a little bit, that sort of bottoms out a little bit for me. And when I have taken this on some light trails where there's a little bits of stones and stuff like that, again, because the ZoomX is so soft, I actually find that I can feel those stones under my foot despite all this midsole stack height. So that's just something to just maybe look out for if you'll be taking it on like light trails. And the final thing we're going to talk about on the midsole is the durability. That's just in terms of like creases and how it looks like it's holding up in terms of if there's any exposed foam and how that's wearing sort of thing. We're going to go for a 3 out of 5 here. Because I'm already seeing slight creases in the stack height, which to me suggests that it's going to be a similar sort of thing to the ZoomX in the racing shoes, where they sort of crease and lose a bit of stack height over time and a little bit of pop and responsiveness to them. It's the outsole and a few different things. Grip, I'm going to give 3.5 out of 5. We've got some sort of like raised lugs here. They're not super prominent, but they are quite good to give you grip on the road and that sort of thing. And then in the wet conditions, they haven't been too bad. In terms of durability, that's just obviously just the wear and how the sort of outsole is holding up over the course of the runs that I've done in it. We're going to give that a 3 out of 5 as well. That's because I'm just seeing a little bit of wear on the lateral side, which I see quite a lot on some shoes because I think I sort of supplement a little bit, but nothing major, no huge wear there. The final thing we're going to do is score the shoe overall in terms of what this shoe's purpose is. Okay, and that's then my opinion of it. So this shoe is intended to be a sort of easy recovery shoe. Now, if that is the case, then I give this a 7 out of 10 because I think it is quite good for those slow miles where you're not worried about the pace, where you're not necessarily going too far, maybe up to sort of 7 miles or something like that. Then yeah, 7 out of 10, the foam feels nice. It's not too responsive, but that's not what you want. It's pretty decent. But now I'm going to give it another score, and this is just for the people that don't want to narrow down their shoes into loads of different categories like me, which is a completely sensible and realistic approach. I'm going to score this shoe overall in terms of just versatility, in terms of if you was to have this shoe and you wanted to use it for every type of run, what would I score it in that case? And then that score then becomes a lot lower. I would score this shoe a 5.5 out of 10. And that's because I just don't think it's very good at anything else other than what it's intended to be used for, in my opinion. I just think that the foam isn't super responsive. And in terms of the price, I think £160 for the limited things that you can do in it is just a little bit too much. There are definitely shoes out there cheaper that can do more stuff for less money. The last thing we're going to score it on, irrelevant to every single other thing, it doesn't take into consideration anything else, but it's something that I think is important in a shoe, is the fun factor. How fun is this shoe to run in? When you put it on, how much do you enjoy it? And that's not super low and not super high in this shoe. I think it's probably a 7 out of 10, and that's because I do get some good enjoyment from the midsole. It's quite a nice feeling sensation. It's quite a comfortable shoe. So guys, there we have it. All those different scores there for you. I'm sure you'll be able to find a place for this shoe if you want to, or also this might make you consider looking at other shoes. Now, as I said, this is a format we're going to be doing for every single full review going forward, so that you guys can compare the metrics from this shoe and every other shoe to sort of see where it slots in. So we are done for today, guys. As always, this has been a super duper shoe review. I've been Running Man Sam, and I'll see you guys in a bit.